Carpenter, and this is Around Town with Amy. Today I'm talking to Alan Wallace about the day that changed his life forever. That is coming up next on Around Town with Amy.
Sure Shot Directional Boring is proud to support Around Town with Amy. We are the region's trusted directional boring and hydro excavation service experts. With more than 20 years experience, Sure Shot Directional Boring ensures projects will be handled skillfully, safely, on time, and within budget. Contact us today at 740-689-1221 or online at sureshotboring.com.
For the last 30 years, I've worked in Fairfield County. The beauty of working in this county is it's small enough that you get to know people on an individual level, that you get to do the kind of work you want to do personally, but it's large enough that we have some resources and we have some ability to bring coalitions together to make some bigger changes.
You have the benefits of a suburban community, and Columbus isn't too far away if you want to get that urban experience. Plus, if I ever feel like I need to get away for a little bit, there's tons of great hiking around here.
Well, Fairfield County is just a really different county, so it's very resource rich. There are so many people in similar and overlapping helping fields. They make excellent community partners.
We all know each other and we don't compete with each other. Like agency-wide, we're all here to serve our clients, and you know someone everywhere, you know what I mean? And so that, I just feel like that helps it to get our clients the best care. So that's a big thing for me.
Community, connections, collaboration. The Fairfield County Way.
Around Town with Amy is sponsored in part by Deline McNeil. Whether you're in the market to buy or sell a home, look no further than Deline McNeil, your reliable real estate expert with over 25 years of invaluable experience. With a reputation for honesty, genuine care, and a strong work ethic, Deline McNeil is dedicated to assisting you with all your real estate needs. For a seamless and trustworthy real estate journey, reach out to Deline McNeil today.
If your child is struggling in school, Dr. Amy's tutoring service is your trusted tutor in the Lancaster area. Dr. Amy has been a teacher for over 25 years and has taught kindergarten, first, second, and third grades. She has multiple degrees to help your child with reading, writing, spelling, math, science, and social studies. Dr. Amy offers one-on-one tutoring using various methods to help students improve grades, confidence, and master fundamental skills. Amy's goal is to help kids learn and grow and to achieve success in their problem areas. Dr. Amy's tutoring service is here to help. To book an appointment, contact Amy today.
Hank's Pet Sitting Service is your trusted pet service in the Lancaster area. Pet owners can rest assured knowing that Hank's Pet Sitting Service will treat your fur babies like one of their own. We specialize in a home away from home atmosphere to keep your pet comfortable. From drop-in visits, dog walking, or potty breaks for your pooch, Hank's Pet Sitting Service is here to help. To book an appointment, contact Hank's Pet Sitting Service today.
Do you remember what you were doing on September 11th, 2001? Most of you were probably at work since it was a Tuesday morning, or maybe you weren't even born yet. For me, I was teaching third grade at the time.
Kentucky.
For firefighter Alan Wallace, it is a day that he will never forget. The sky was a beautiful blue that day and not a cloud in the sky. Alan was one of 3 firefighters assigned to the heliport station at the Pentagon that day. Normally, he would be assigned to the fire station all week. But since there was a week-long class on airfield fighting, he had to fill in at the Pentagon. He didn't know how a small change of his schedule could be so life-changing. Alan arrived at the Pentagon at 7:30 that morning. The fire station was new and had only been in use since the beginning of the year. After checking out the fire truck, Alan sat down to eat his breakfast. A few minutes later, a fellow fireman, Mark Skipper, came in and told them that an airplane had just crashed into the World Trade Center. Both firemen went into the next room and turned on the TV. While they were watching, a second aircraft struck the second tower. For 10 minutes, their eyes were glued to the TV set, not believing what had just happened. At 9:20, Al's chief, Charlie Campbell, called the Pentagon fire station to let them know about the attacks on the World Trade Center. He wanted to be sure they were aware that it was definitely a terrorist attack. He said Washington, D.C. could very well be a target. Alan and Mark were working on the fire truck. Alan looked up towards his left side and saw a large frame commercial airliner crossing Washington Boulevard and heading to the west side of the Pentagon. It was American Airlines Flight 77. It was carrying 59 passengers, the crew, and 5 hijackers. The plane had 2 big engines, appeared to be in level flight, and was approximately 25 feet off the ground and about 200 yards from their location. The plane hit the Pentagon a second and a half after Alan saw it. Immediately after seeing the plane, Alan heard the terrible noise. It was loud, scary, and horrible. When Alan saw the plane, he screamed. He had several clear thoughts and feelings: the noise from the engines, the awareness that they were under attack, a crunch sound, a pressure, lots of heat. His plan was to run until he caught on fire and then dive to the ground and figure out what to do next. After looking at his surroundings, Alan immediately crawled under a van for safety. But due to the heat, Alan chose to leave this space and get farther away from the impact site. It was at this time that Alan first noticed the damage to the Pentagon and to the crash truck. The rear of the crash truck was on fire with a large blaze. Most notable was that everything around the fire truck was on fire. Also, the first 5 floors on the west side of the Pentagon were on fire. Alan was able to get on the radio and inform his fellow firefighters of the exact location of the crash, which they had felt 1.5 miles away.
My radio message comes over the radio, and I'll say it this way, in the calmest, clearest voice. I am foam 61. And my message to Fort Myer is, foam 61, Fort Myer, we have had a commercial airliner, crash into the west side of the Pentagon at the heliport, the Washington Boulevard side. Come at once.
After using his radio, Alan heard the words, "We need help here." Alan and the other firefighters assembled at the first floor window of the Pentagon, despite the heat and the smoke, which made it hard to breathe. Alan helped a civilian climb into the window of the Pentagon, where victims exited the building. Alan took a fire extinguisher into the world's second largest office building that employed over 25,000 people, not knowing what he would find.
I have no idea what I'm going to do with a fire extinguisher in a fire like this, but I was going to do something. So I get in there about 10 or 15 feet, and now I can't see, I can't do anything really. So I'm down on the floor. I got the lantern in my right hand. It's a big, I'd call it a battle lantern, big flashlight. I'm pushing it. I'm on my hands and knees, and when I thought I would see something that was on fire, I would pull the trigger on this fire extinguisher. These things usually make a lot of noise. And about the second time I do this, I hear a woman yell, "Hey." And it was the furthest thing from my mind that I would run into somebody there. So it startled me so much that the only thing I could say was, "Hey, back," and one of us says, "I can't see you," and this lady starts clamping her hands.
Alan was able to help Sheila Moody, who heard the swoosh of his fire extinguisher and called out to him for help. Thanks to their efforts, at least 10 people were able to exit the Pentagon that day. The victims were terrified and burned. They had varying amounts of clothing burned from their bodies, and some were even missing shoes. At this time, Alan also started to feel the effects of the attack. He was exhausted and had severe shortness of breath from the lack of air at the impact site, where he had assisted victims. He and his fellow firefighters had second-degree burns on their neck and forearms. Alan had left shoulder pain and had to be given oxygen to breathe. Alan knew his mom back in Ohio would be worried about him, so he called home to let her know he was okay before being taken away by squad. After the attack, officials wanted to talk to Al about what he saw, but they didn't believe what he told them.
Skipper says, Al, I think the problem is they're surprised that they're even talking to us, considering where we were, and all that flying debris and stuff went blasting through there into the firehouse, plastered the back of the Ford van.
Sometimes, like the officials, Alan can't believe it himself.
And what did happen was an absolute miracle that Mark and Dennis and I weren't cut to pieces. Mark especially and I weren't cut to pieces. It was a miracle that we weren't killed outright.
Alan was grateful and amazed that his injuries were minor. The burns on his forearms and neck healed quickly, and he was able to recover from his shoulder surgery. Even though Alan recovered from his physical injuries, this experience has changed him. Even simple things bring him back to that day, like the smell of asphalt that had just been poured at the Pentagon. So many God winks happened to Alan that day. American Airlines 77 was going 532 miles an hour when the plane hit the Pentagon. What if the hijacker wouldn't have hit the throttle to do more damage to the Pentagon? Luckily, the energy transferred into the building, or Alan would have surely been killed. What if Alan would have taken the fire hose into the Pentagon instead of the fire extinguisher? Sheila Moody wouldn't have heard the sound of the extinguisher and yelled out for help. What if the regular crew of guys, with less experience and not as physically fit, were at the Pentagon that day? Instead, it was 3 guys who could physically handle the catastrophe they were faced with. Despite all of the negative things Alan experienced on September 11, 2001, and all of the what-ifs, he was put at the Pentagon that day for a reason, and he feels special to have been a part of the experience. Even if it had killed him, he wouldn't have wanted to miss it. To Alan, it was an opportunity to do something to help somebody. You can read more about my story, Do You Remember?, in the September 25th edition of the Town Crier. Thank you for joining me on Around Town with Amy.